The meeting of the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr? Director Gohul-Gandhi?
Here.
Director Leonard?
Present.
Director O'Halloran?
Here.
Chair Simpson?
Present.
We have 4 committee members present.
The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is also being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links of which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si desea escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame al 312-626-6799. Nuevamente, 312-626-6799. E introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Thank you. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker's slip and bring it to our board clerk, Dr. Mann. Virtual speakers are asked to remain on the platform until you are called upon. After speaking, virtual speakers may follow the rest of the meeting using the broadcast information previously mentioned. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. For the sake of fairness and to give everyone a chance to speak, the Chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. Written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests, including those from the public, committee members, or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. For the safety of all and to ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who engages in such harassing or intimidating words or actions will immediately be asked to cease. If such behavior continues, a recess will be called and the offending parties will be removed from the meeting. Anyone ejected from the meeting may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, the individual will not be allowed to rejoin the meeting. Also, no one other than members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to present or participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes page of the MPS website. Now, let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item 1 is action on a request to amend the instrumentality charter school contract with Honey Creek Continuous Progress School relative to the school leadership. The recommendation is that the board approve the amendment to the instrumentality charter school contract with Honey Creek Continuous Progress School.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, Keith Mosley, Superintendent of Schools. This evening, we are asking for your approval of this item relative to the leadership of Honey Creek Continuous Progress School. I have with me Bridget Schock, Director of Contracted School Services, to share this item. Following this, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Bridget?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Contracted School Services. Laura Biesteveld was approved by the board in April for principal, and so this is a simple amendment to the contract to reflect her leadership, and she's in the audience with us here tonight.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Madam Chair, we just have one speaker.
Just have the one? All right, if it's okay with committee members, we'll go ahead with the speaker slip, and that would be Ms. Laura. Yes, would you like to speak? I just put in for my support of this. Okay, sorry. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Just congratulations, Ms. Biesterfield. A nice, smooth transition. I have the chance to go to Honey Creek quite often, so it's so nice to see that occur in a building. The staff, everybody is sort of has a shared leadership type of role in that building, and I wish you the best of luck, and I know you'll be successful. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the, yep, Director O'Halloran?
Thank you, Chair Simpson. I was just going to go ahead and move that we approve administration's recommendation to approve the amendment to the instrumentality charter school contract with Honey Creek Continuous Progress School.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
I made that up.
All right, Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
On the motion as read by Director O'Halloran into the record to approve the administration's recommendation. On the motion as read, Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Chair Simpson?
Aye.
That's 4 ayes, the motion passes.
Congratulations. You're welcome. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Item number 2 is action on a request to amend the non-instrumentality charter school contract with MC Preparatory School of Wisconsin, Inc. for the Milwaukee College Preparatory School relative to its school leadership. The recommendation is that the board approve the amendment as attached to this item.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, we're asking for your approval of this item relative to the leadership of Milwaukee College Preparatory School. We have Bridget Schock, who will walk us through the item, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions you may have. Bridget.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, the Director of Contracted School Services. So we received notification that Rob Rao, after 26 years of service, is retiring, and they have now, their board has appointed a new Chief Executive Officer, which is Al Keith. So this amendment simply reflects that change in leadership.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of this committee? Director Gokul Gandhi.
I move that we approve the amended non-instrumentality charter school contract with FC Preparatory School as recommended by administration.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will the secretary please call the roll?
On the motion as read into the record by Director Gokul Gandhi relative to item number 2, moving approval of the administration's recommendation. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes, the motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, which is action on a request to amend the non-instrumentality charter school contract with Next Door Foundation, Inc. for Next Door Charter School relative to its leadership and its grade band. The recommendation is that the board approve the amendments as outlined in the attachments to this item.
Would the administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, we're asking for your approval of this item relative to the leadership and grade bands offered at Next Door Charter School. We have Bridget Schock, who will provide some updates, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions you may have. Bridget.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contracted School Services. We received 2 notifications. One is that the the previous president of Next Door Charter School, Tracy Sparrow, has retired. And so they have named a new president, which is Heather Meehan Grams. So she's assuming that role. In addition, their contract will expire at the end of 2024 in June, and they've decided not to renew. They're just going to stay with the Birth to 3 program and do that very well. So this is also a request to amend the seats for K-4 students only.
Thank you. Do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Gokul Gandhi.
Just one question. Have we communicated with them about potentially inviting the students into our system and all the wonderful opportunities that we have?
Administration?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contract to School Services, yes. So they currently offer K-4 through K-5. So they did an enrollment fair for K-5 students, or for K-4 incoming K-5 students, and partnered with MPS. And so we're hoping to get some of their K-4. Families just wanted a K-4 through 8th grade program instead of just a K-4, K-5 program.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
No, I'm just hoping we can be aggressive and have a few points of communication with those families so that we know that they know that we are really eager to welcome them into our school system.
Administration?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, yes, we will be doing just that, and I will also follow up as well with the team in Student Services to beef up that support. However, I know they're on the ground running with it as well, but we'll follow up more detail.
Yes, and yeah, I'd like to thank that school community for sending their business our way. That's wonderful to hear. Any further discussion by members of the board? All right, what is the pleasure of the committee with regard to this item? Director Gokul Gandhi.
I move that we approve the amended charter with Next Door Foundation as recommended by administration.
All right, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion as read into the record to approve the administration's recommendation. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 4, which is action on a request to amend the non-instrumentality charter school contract with La Causa, Inc. for La Causa School relative to its school leadership. The recommendation is that the board approve the amendment to the contract as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, we're asking for your approval of this item relative to the leadership at La Causa Charter School. I have Bridget Schock here who would walk us through the changes, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Bridget.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contract to School Services. The item before you is an amendment. George Torres retired as the president and CEO after 15 years of service. So this contract is to reflect Ayala Luis, who is the new president and CEO.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
We have no request for public testimony on this item.
Alrighty, what is the pleasure of the committee? Director Leonard?
I move that we approve the modification to the contract for La Causa's charter school.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Leonard's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the amendment to the contract with La Causa, Inc. as attached to this item. On the motion as read, Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 5, which is a request to amend the non-instrumentality charter school contract with Milwaukee Excellence, Inc. for the Milwaukee Excellence Charter School relative to the school's location. The administration recommends that the board approve the amendment to the contract as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Would the administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, we're asking for your approval of the item relative to the location of Milwaukee Excellence Charter School. I have Bridget Schock, Director of Contract School Services, to share on this item. Bridget?
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contracted School Services. Last month, the board approved termination of the lease agreement with at Happy Hill, and this contract is really to reflect the one location at the McNair Building. In addition, we've also adjusted the FTEs to show the capacity that the building can hold for a 6 through 12 for Milwaukee Excellence.
Thank you. Do members of the committee wish to make comments or ask questions? Yep, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. Can you give us some context with the FTE adjustment? So it's going from 840 to 600. Am I understanding that correctly?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contracted School Services, that is correct.
Follow-up, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Simpson. So what are they currently at? Are they at the 600 or were they above that? And it's just making sure that they have adequate space and I understand how many FTEs they're actually at.
Administration.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Bridget Schock, Director of Contracted School Services. They're at, as of third Friday enrollment, they were at 545 students in grades 6 through 12.
Any follow-up?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I move we approve administration's recommendation with regards to the amendment to the contract for Milwaukee Excellence.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
On the motion as read into the record by Director O'Halloran to approve the administration's recommendation. On the motion as read, Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 6, which is action on the Head Start matters. The first part is a request to approve submission of the continuation grant for the enrollment reduction plan and a request to extend the project period for the American Rescues Plan, the ARPA grant. The recommendation is that the board approve the request as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening we're asking for your approval on the submission of an extension of the American Rescue Plan grant. I have with me here this evening Chrissy Washington, Manager of Early Childhood Learning, to share the details of this item. Chrissy.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and other members of the committee. Chrissy Washington, Early Learning Manager. I'm here to provide information pertaining to this request. The Administration for Children and Families requires the participation through review, feedback, and approval of the Milwaukee Public Schools Head Start Policy Council and Board of School Directors in the approval of the application for enrollment reduction, otherwise known as a change in scope, as well as the request to approve the project period to expend American Rescue Plan ARP funds. Both requests were approved on May 25th by the MPS Head Start Policy Council. It should be noted that the information for enrollment reduction is the same information within the continuation grant application that was approved and submitted in February. MPS Head Start's program was informed by the Office of Head Start of the need to submit and approve a non-competing continuation enrollment reduction grant application. The request to reduce funded enrollment slots without reducing program operation funding with the cost savings funds would be utilized to attain additional instructional and programmatic support staff for the program. Regarding the remaining American Recovery Plan funds, there is a need to expend the funds that would be used to support efforts to address enrollment and recruitment, mental health, staff and wellness, professional learning, and remodeling efforts. If there's any question, I'll be more than happy to respond to them.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of this committee? Director Leonard.
I move we approve the recommendations by administration.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Any further discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Leonard's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the attached Head Start matters. On the motion as read, Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Chair Simpson.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes, the motion passes.
I'd just like to thank the Head Start team for working so hard through all of this these last couple of months. I know it's been a lot, so just want to extend my thanks. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, which is a report with possible action regarding the MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, our MPS MKE Early Childhood Initiative presentation this evening will include the Early Childhood 1825 initiative, focuses on goals, completed, current, and future work, as well as next steps. This evening, Ms. Chrissy Washington, Manager of Early Childhood Learning, is here to present this item, and after which we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that we may have. Ms. Washington.
Good evening again. Chair Simpson and members of the committee. Chrissy Washington, Early Learning Manager, and I'm going to provide an update pertaining to the work that has supported the MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative. The MPS MKE Early Childhood 1825 initiative is grounded and supportive of 4 of the district's priority. Focusing work is on increasing academic achievement, improving school cultures, developing staff, and strengthening communication and collaboration within the community. This slide reflects the demographic data for May of fiscal year 2023 of the early childhood student population of pre-K and K students enrolled in our district. It should be noted that the information has changed since publication. However, the demographic percentages are as follows: 52.3% African American, 25.8% Hispanic, 9.8% white, 7% Asian, 4.6% of multiple ethnicities, 0.3% American Indian, and 0.1% Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. As evident by this information, diversity is most definitely a strength within our district. The mission of the work is to improve the learning experiences for children ages birth through 5 years in the city of Milwaukee by ensuring that all educators and child care providers who have direct impact on our students' learning possess the understanding, skill set, knowledge base, capacity, and resources needed to provide high-quality instruction to all. Thus, the 5 priorities that are the elements for high-quality early childhood education and programming serve as the focus and overall implementation goal for the initiative. These groups work collaboratively, supporting the community by providing early childhood staff development, on family and supportive of family and school transition, how to ensure that high-quality, impactful instruction is provided, social and emotional learning support, as well as looking at how to further support equitable learning resources within the early learning setting. During the months of February through June of 2023, the initiative maintained the focus on equitable, meaningful engagement and learning opportunities to support the early learning community. In the area of staff development, the Supporting Oral Language or SOLI series was another successful experience that was repeated this year. This focus continued to provide the community on information of how to support early learning development. Early literacy advocate Maya Smart provided a session this past May 18th on how to raise a reader for 43 engaged participants. The culminating takeaway was a copy of her book titled Reading for Our Lives, a Literacy Action Plan from Birth to Age 6. In equitable resources, the Bridges to School MKE is the community-based partnership that aims to connect families, child care providers, and schools in Milwaukee to increase the number of children attending thriving and succeeding learning experiences in the Milwaukee community, with Browning, Longfellow, and Westside being the schools that supports this effort. Additional outreach to families and early child care providers in the geographical area surrounding those 3 schools was done. In the area of family support and transition, information was shared with the MPS Family and Community Engagement on training that supports families, an example being that There is an opportunity for additional trainers to receive training on the mind in the making. I myself am one and am a part of a Milwaukee coalition that will provide this course that provides participants information on the 7 essential executive function-based life skills that are involved in making thoughts, actions, and emotions positive so that they be able to achieve goals. Finally, there is work that was done in instruction with early childhood representation, attending the conscious discipline training that was offered in Florida's A&M University campus, which was known as the Conscious Discipline with Excellence Celebrating University Conference. And this conference provided the participants an interactive, brain-smart environment as they learned about transformational skills, powers, and structures of conscious discipline from a culturally relevant experience on the campus. So the MPS practitioners will come back and will utilize the information that was used and embedded within upcoming professional development learning opportunities. And the goal is to work with educators on creating hubs of healthy social and emotional early learning development. Finally, there was the regulation training that was offered to support social and emotional learning. That was provided by a partner, WellPoint, and it was offered to early learners this past spring. It was a 3-session series that shared information and strategies to over 50 participants. 53 of them were in attendance on March 22nd and 27th to learn and get information on self-regulation, and then it culminated on May 16th, to provide them with information on the toolkit as well as the resources that they could immediately utilize within their learning settings with children. Current work during this quarter would involve us to continue to be a representative on the Planning Committee for the Pathways to Quality Conference, which provides an opportunity to share information about current topics to the Milwaukee community, childcare community. And so this particular learning opportunity is available to all professionals who work with children ages birth through age 12. Work will also continue with the Bridges to School MKE partnership, and as has been mentioned, its aim is to continue to support families, providers, and the schools in ensuring that they are giving information resulting in them being successful in an early learning setting. The NPS portal is being edited to include resources that would reflect summer learning opportunities that would be available for young children throughout the community. Another partner, the CTSI CAN network, is offering free or virtual in-person trainings, and they would address brain building tips by the Vroom app, as well as the Mind in the Making that has been previously mentioned in our session. So we'll continue to work with this particular cohort and network with throughout the Milwaukee community. And finally, since the regulation training was so successful, we'll continue to try to market an additional training with the hope that we'll be able to provide an opportunity so that individuals who participate will be able to apply the strategies at the beginning of the school year. The important work continues because we realize that we impact young learners for sure. So in order to ensure school readiness, the initiative plans to work on the following. We'll continue to plan additional professional development opportunities that align and support our district's ambitious instruction focus. We'll continue to collaborate with the Office of the Early Childhood Initiatives on Mighty Small Moments, which is an initiative to meet parents where they are with small opportunities, but it would have a most powerful and meaningful impact for them. We'll continue to connect with the partnership efforts with our community schools, Bridges partnership. We'll also ensure that professional development continues to be one that we focus on, and we continue to attend opportunities that would support social and emotional learning, such as conscious discipline events. In this case, we're slated to have individuals participate on those that focus on autism and ways to improve wellness and outcomes. And finally, we'll connect with the Institute for Child and Family Wellbeing to provide workshops on trauma, resilience, and social emotional learning. As has been mentioned, the work continues, and we work to ensure that we have equitable resources and high-quality professional development opportunities by looking into ways to better support our early learning community. So that is the update for the initiative, and I'll be more than happy to respond to any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
And thank you so much for this overview. I found it very informative, so I appreciate that. I have a question that maybe isn't directly related, but I promise it's tangentially related. I attended a talk that I had, public health officials from various areas. This was a while ago, and the former health commissioner noted that as a result, or I don't know, of stay-at-home restrictions during the pandemic or other reasons, the number of children being tested for lead had fallen off. And I was wondering, is there any information that is provided to this demographic? Because this is the demographic where the birth to 3 especially, I think that's the time that you really want to identify these cases. So I was wondering if there is anything within this initiative or perhaps other early childhood initiatives that we're a part of that either assist with identifying those cases directly or at least provide information to families, because I remember my first house had lead service lines, and so I was surprised to learn that, and as a result, we did have that testing done, and one of my children did have elevated levels, and so some families may be living in houses that they're not even aware of that. So is that, I don't know if anybody in administration would be able to provide that.
Administration.
Director O'Halloran, Chair Simpson, and other members of the committee. Yes, the focus on lead is one that we intend to address and provide the community with opportunities to get more information. We have representation within the initiative from the Department of Health. We've also made connections with someone who's leading some work in that area, but it's also will be a continue of a focus for the Head Start program as well.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, one of the other things that we do on an ongoing basis is meet with the health department once a month. Jennifer Mims Howell and her team, as well as myself, meet, and there's a number of different things that we're looking at and having conversations around. So those topics are constantly coming up with. So.
Thank you. Any follow-ups?
Nope, thanks.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Any further discussion by members of the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you very much for sharing this important work. It's a big report and with a lot of details about the amazing work that we're doing in the area of early childhood. And I know social emotional learning is a big piece of that. So just, that's really important for our early childhood kiddos. So thank you very much for those updates. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 8, which is a report with possible action on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Task Force. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, at the March 23, 2023 board meeting, Resolution 2223R-018 by Directors Peterson and Herndon on the creation of a Deaf or Hard of Hearing and task force for a major review for the MPS Deaf or Hard of Hearing program was referred to Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation. This evening, I have with me Mr. Travis Pinter, Senior Director of Specialized Services, to update you on the progress of the task force. Following the update, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Travis.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Travis Pinter, Senior Director of Specialized Services, have a brief update today, but on 5/18 we public messaged the meeting that was on May 30th. And we did that through a web story through MPS, a press release, social media, and our Family Friday newsletter, and it went out in the subsequent Family Friday newsletter as well. So we had a very good turnout on May 30th at South Division. We had over 50 people attending, and from that group, which we went over the resolution with, from that group and then online interest that was solicited through an application, we have 54 interested people for the task force, so a very large group. And that task force was able to elect the chair and co-chair. So those addresses were subsequently checked through the system of the 54 individuals to make sure we had met our requirements of a majority of the task force living in the city of Milwaukee. And those names are now with the chair and co-chair, and trying to collaborate with 54 people around a couple of proposed dates. And then once I get those dates, we're going to public notice that, and we'll have some space and more communication at that point.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. Are you at liberty to share the names of the chair and the co-chair?
Administration.
Sure, I can do that. I had that just in case you asked. Make sure I get them correct. So the chairperson elected was Linda Lou Foxwheeler, and the co-chairperson is Marcy Dicker.
Follow-up, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with these two individuals. Are they educators, parents, people who are deaf and hard of hearing? Can you just give us background on who they are?
Administration.
Sorry. Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, yes, Ms. Foxwheeler is an educator in the district, and Marcy Dicker is from outside the district. Both work in the DHH community.
All right. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public who wish to make comments on this item?
We have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right. Thank you very much for that update, and we look forward to hearing more about the work of the task force in the future. Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, which is a report with possible action on the MPS Montessori Strategic Plan. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening we're prepared to share our 2022-23 quarterly report regarding the Montessori Strategic Plan. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Abigail Roush, our Montessori coordinator, and also with us is Principal Andrea Corona. And after the presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Abigail?
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the board. My name is Abigail Roush, and I am the Montessori coordinator. I'm here this evening with Andrea Corona, principal of McDowell Montessori School, to provide the quarterly update on the Montessori Strategic Plan. We want to begin this presentation by sharing how the Montessori Strategic Plan embodies the district's 5 priorities for success, especially increase academic achievement and accountability, develop our staff, and strengthen communication and collaboration. The ambitious instruction plan, Accelerating Learning, is the instructional framework for all schools and classrooms in MPS. We fulfill this expectation through utilizing the Montessori method, which is based on the philosophy that children reach their fullest potential through multi-age interactions in an inquisitive, cooperative, and encouraging atmosphere through self-directed activity and hands-on learning using unique materials. In addition, the 10 elements outlined in the district's academic standard of care are embedded in the Montessori philosophy. Tonight, we wanted to update the board on the progress of the Montessori Strategic Plan. Work that we've completed since our last update includes: we held our annual Montessori Summit on February 11th, 2023. This was our first opportunity to have the summit in person since before the COVID-19 pandemic. At the summit, we welcome current and potential families to view glass classrooms of children working and attend parent education sessions and learn more about each of the MPS Montessori schools. We had student services on site for enrollment support, as well as human resources for employment and sponsorship information. We've completed the orders for the social studies textbook adoption alternative purchasing. As you know, Montessori schools were granted a waiver. The schools completed an inventory and then made targeted purchases based on that inventory. We were able to attend the Association Montessori International and American Montessori Society annual conferences for the purpose of teacher retention. We staffed an information booth to recruit Montessori credentialed teachers, as well as increase our recognition in the larger Montessori community. We have purchased materials to support our Phase 1 secondary curriculum rollout. This year, we rolled out 5 curriculum expectations for our 7th through 12th grade classrooms and began developing a material inventory for the minimum standard of what is to be included in an MPS Montessori secondary classroom. We were able to purchase materials for each of our secondary classrooms to support the 5 curriculum expectations that we rolled out this year. We also work to support the Penfield Montessori transition. As you may know, a local charter Montessori school is closing. Student services work closely with families to ensure that all of the children wishing to attend MPS are enrolled. Student services met with parents at the school site to identify any families who are interested in enrolling in MPS and for us to learn about the unique needs of each child. We worked to ensure that IEP services were available at the schools the parents were interested in, and then contacted those families to inform them which school was available based on their unique needs and school availability. Human Resources also worked with those staff members being displaced to welcome them into our MPS family. For work that is currently happening during the month of June, we've continued to hold our monthly Montessori principal meetings, which allows us to strengthen collaboration across the district. We've initiated our planning process for a 50 years of Montessori and MPS event, which we will highlight on our next slide. And we are holding Montessori-specific summer school at Fernwood Montessori for K-5 through grade 8, which begins on June 26th. We are currently engaging in conversations with Montessori credentialing centers to see if we can develop a partnership program with Milwaukee Public Schools. Our tentative timeline is to request board approval to enter into a contract by August 2023, with our official launch to begin our first course offerings in January of 2024. And then we will be conducting our final Montessori Advisory Committee meeting on June 12th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. here at Central Office in rooms 206, 208. Additional information can be found on our webpage at mpsmke.com/Montessori.
Chair Simpson, members of the board, Andrea Corona, principal of McDowell Montessori School. We are excited to announce that we will be celebrating 50 years of Montessori in Milwaukee Public Schools this fall. We are currently developing a year-long awareness campaign, including updating our district and school web pages. We will be hosting a celebration event on February 10th, 2024, from 1 to 4 p.m. at McDowell. Attendees will be able to learn about Montessori methods and materials, interact with a student artistic showcase, engage in key presentations, and participate in enrollment and hiring. Look for additional information throughout the year. We would also like to provide a staffing update. For fall of 2024, we had 11 classroom teacher vacancies, 1 school support teacher vacancy, and 2 newly created assistant principal positions. At this time, we have hired 7 classroom teachers and are in the hiring process with 2 assistant principals. This leaves us with 4 classroom teaching vacancies and 1 school support teacher vacancies. 2 at Riley SST, 1 at Fernwood, and 1 at Craig. Recruitment. In the area of recruitment, we have attended the Association Montessori International and the American Montessori Society conferences and placed targeted ads with various Montessori organizations. Retention. And while we continue to recruit new staff, we also want to retain the staff we have. For the 2023-2024 school year, we will again be providing Montessori-trained mentor coaches for first-year teachers and teachers of record currently enrolled in Montessori certification. This coaching is set up by individual schools and paid for by the Montessori Strategic Plan budget. For our support staff, a Montessori overview course was implemented at each school starting this year. Moving forward, all new hires will also engage in this overview course. In the area of sponsorship, with the revision of the Montessori Strategic Plan this past May, we have shifted from a scholarship model to a sponsorship model to help cover the cost of a teacher credentialing courses. We have issued 5 sponsorships with the new process, all of whom are hired for classroom teaching positions for the fall. We currently have 28 teachers in training, 26 of which are currently in the classroom. There will be 2 elementary teachers available upon their course completion.
Chair Chair Simpson, members of the board, Abigail Rausch, Montessori coordinator. The Montessori Strategic Plan has a timeline for the 2023-2024 school year. During the month of July, we will continue to host Montessori Summer School. We will be developing the Montessori at 50 event guidelines for the school involvement, and we will be working to update the MPS Montessori marketing to reflect our 50th anniversary. In August, we will be presenting Montessori-specific content at the new Educator Institute, as well as the opening week teacher professional development. And finally, in the month of September, we will be engaging our new Montessori mentor coaches for our new teachers, conducting professional development for new Montessori support staff, and initiating the spelling, handwriting, textbook adoption waiver purchasing. Thank you.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I guess, first of all, with regards to the Penfield status, do you have a projected enrollment from their program by any chance?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, Director Leonard, I do. So currently, we have 43 students enrolled as of today. We are currently still receiving applications and anticipate additional student enrollments as the summer progresses.
Well, that's very good to hear. And then also, out of curiosity, with regards to the vacancies, I'm more concerned about retention. So those vacancies, did they come from us expanding our classrooms, or was it I'm assuming it's a combination of retention and the expansion?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the board, Abigail Rausch, Montessori coordinator. Yes, Director Leonard, it's a combination of both. We are happy to announce that we are continuing to expand. We have program expansions happening in 3 schools this year. In addition, we do have several teachers who are retiring. Due to the pandemic, we have several teachers who were not ready to leave the classroom until they had reestablished their class. And we have a lot of teachers who felt now was the time to retire. So out of all of our openings, we had very limited people leaving because they were unhappy or needed to leave for other reasons.
Right.
Director Leonard, follow-up?
No, this is just, that's both great answers, to be honest. That's good to hear. And then the last thing is, with regards to marketing, how are we doing that?
Administration.
You might not be able to answer that question.
Director Simpson, members of the board, Director Leonard, could you clarify
I saw
which
on
marketing
there,
would you?
I was looking on, actually, July 2023, updating MPS Montessori marketing. And I was just curious as to how we are doing that marketing.
Yeah, so that specific comment is directed towards our 50th anniversary.
Oh, okay,
So we will be
okay.
having targeted marketing throughout the whole entire school year to celebrate our 50th anniversary.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, also just to add that Nicole Almendarez has a total overall district marketing plan that the Montessori schools are a part of as well as all the other schools within the district. So we could get that plan to you as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions, Director Leonard? All right, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And if I recall correctly, you said we have 2 vacancies at Riley, and I was wondering if you could speak to the likelihood that we'll be able to fill those positions, knowing that it's Montessori and Spanish, and if we don't have something on the horizon, are we able to fill those gaps other ways?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the board, that is an excellent question. So we do have targeted marketing specifically for Riley. There are several Spanish language Montessori websites, Facebook sites where we have targeted marketing specifically looking for Montessori teachers who speak Spanish. We are continually looking for staff within our district for Grow Your Own. So looking for paraprofessionals who are native Spanish speakers who would like to become, a Montessori teacher. That is always something that we are looking for. So we are continually looking for ways to bring additional staff to the district.
Follow-up, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And I of course would have assumed we were doing everything within our power to hire. If we don't have those positions filled in fall or whenever, how do we meet the needs of the students in that building?
Administration.
Director Simpson, members of the board, that is an excellent question. So Riley is a very special school. So the bilingual department, myself, the school administration, as well as the regional team, meet together often. So we have been meeting to discuss these very options. We collaborate very frequently to see what it is, what can we do, what are our options. With our staff, do we have Spanish-speaking paras that we could put with an English-speaking Montessori teacher? Are there different ways that we can, support? Who can we get in training? And so we're continually having these discussions to see what we can do in case of an emergency. But really our number one priority and our number one hope is to be able to hire, 2 staff members here. And I feel confident that we're going to be able to do that, being that it's June. We're very, very actively working to do that. So hopefully next time we meet, we'll be able to talk about our great new staff.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, also I would like to add to that, each school has a SST. So that is outside of the classroom. We do everything that we possibly can not to have to assign the SST, but we do have additional staff that way as well.
Director O'Halloran, follow-up?
No, thank you. Riley isn't in my district anymore, but, I still am very concerned about those families that I met with at the beginning of my tenure. So always just want to make sure that we're advocating for them. That's all.
All right. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
We have no request for public testimony on this item.
Is there any further discussion? All right, thank you very much for that report. Looking forward to celebrating 50 years of Montessori and MPS next year. Very exciting. Yep, hooray. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 10, which is an update with possible action on Resolution 2021R-02, advancing the goal of equity in MPS. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening, the administration brings to you an update on Resolution 2223R-002 on the goal of equity in MPS. To present the update, I have with me Dr. Ellis, the Director of Equity, Access, and Inclusion. Also, I see Ebony Lewis is here with us, as well as Donovan Johnson is here with us. And after the presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Ellis and team, take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Patricia Ellis, Director of the Department of Equity, Access, and Inclusion. I am joined this evening by Donovan Johnson, Planning Assistant for the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement, and as has been shared, Ebony Lewis is also with us, the Director of Gender and Identity Inclusion. All work within the Milwaukee Public Schools is aligned to the 5 priorities for success. Our work is also aligned to supporting, enhancing, and enriching equity as reflected in Administrative Policy 1.06, Equity in MPS, and Administrative Procedure 1.06, Efforts to Achieve Equity. We will begin this evening's presentation on Resolution 2021R-002, Advancing Equity in MPS, with an update on progress that has been made in the development of the student-created equity evaluation tool. In November 2022, we were beginning the process of collecting students' input on the types of questions they would like to see in a student-created equity evaluation tool. To engage students in this process in an equitable manner, students were given an overview and provided a copy with the resolution and the equity guidebook. Students were also provided with a 2-page document that described types of survey questions and included examples to help them decide on the types of questions they would like to see on the equity evaluation, along with how to format their questions. All students engaged in this process expressed a strong desire for open-ended questions to gain a deeper understanding of what their peers are thinking and feeling about equity within their schools and how they in turn could support their peers. Students then created questions that fell under one or more of the following 4 areas of focus for the evaluation tool: climate and culture, leadership opportunities and influence, instructional practices, and academic achievement. If students felt an area of focus was not clearly identified, they were given an opportunity to add additional areas of focus. Students felt that these 4 areas addressed their most critical equity-based questions for the evaluation. Because the strategic plan student survey was being developed at the same time as student voice was being sought for the student-created equity evaluation tool, the Department of Research, Assessment, and Data modified some of the students' open-ended questions to include as multiple choice responses on the MPS Strategic Plan Student Survey. Such questions on the student survey were related to culture and climate, leadership and extracurricular opportunities, teaching and learning practices, and student engagement. Additional information regarding the strategic plan survey feedback and input from the over 20,000 middle and high school students that participated in the survey will be shared at the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee meeting on June 22nd. In the area of climate and culture, common themes were safety, gender identity and inclusion, cultural awareness and responsiveness, diversity, respect, and student expression and motivation. In the area of leadership opportunities and influence, common themes were: how do students see themselves and others as leaders? Increasing student engagement in leadership opportunities, ensuring student voice is heard in ways that actively engage them in helping to identify and solve challenges, and increasing opportunities for students and staff to learn from and engage with each other as partners. In the area of instructional practices strategies, common themes were: how can teaching and learning support fun and joy while allowing students to see and share their brilliance? How feedback is used to inform practices, strategies, and student engagement? Cultural and linguistic awareness and responsiveness? And how is schooling preparing students to be on track for graduation, as well as how to engage in a more global society? In the last focus area, academic achievement, common themes were the impact of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation on achievement, goals aligned to the future and present, ensuring students are provided with diverse perspectives and encouraged to seek knowledge for themselves that will support future lifelong learning, and how is learning preparing them to have the academic, social, emotional, soft skills, etc., to live, strive, thrive, and contribute to their future success inside and outside of school as global citizens in the 21st century and beyond. This proposed timeline will engage students, districts, and staff in finalizing and implementing the student-created equity evaluation tool in the 2023-2024 school year. Next steps in this process will include ensuring that all student leaders that will lead this effort at their school will have a common understanding and knowledge of research methodologies, protocols, and tools, skills and practices a researcher uses to maximize participation and reduce bias. During the engagement and data analysis portion of the evaluation process, writing and executing an action plan related to one or two of the topics that they feel they can inspire and motivate change related to their peers' responses in one or more of the focus area responses. This will essentially be like Research 101 for students and advising staff. Reflection, engagement, and collaboration across departments that include, but not limited to, the Departments of Research, Assessment, and Data, Student Services, Black and Latino Male Achievement, Gender and Identity Inclusion, Restorative Practices, Equity, Access, and Inclusion, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, PBIS, in addition to district and school level staff who serve as advisors to student groups, school leaders, and others that will be identified to reflect on and implement the next steps in this process. We also understand that next steps in finalizing this evaluation tool may need to take into consideration components of and/or alignment with the strategic plan. Engaging students and advising staff in Research 101 will support this process and alignment moving forward toward achieving integrity and intentionality. In January 2024, we will present an update to the committee on where students and staff are in the process of collecting and analyzing data for the student-created equity evaluation tool based on the proposed timeline. In addition to implementing action plans related to research and evaluation, students will have opportunities to share their equity findings, outcomes, and recommendations within their school community and at the Spring Equity Summit in May. Efforts also aligned to advancing equity in MPS include the work that John Jagman in the Department of Student Services and his team are doing with the Fall and Spring Student Leadership Summits. Information on this slide was shared during John's presentation at the PACE Committee meeting on Tuesday, June 6th. In addition to the Department of Student Services engagement with student focus groups on the Code of Conduct, they also engage middle and high schools in the Student Discipline Committee, in which 50% or more of the students participate, and this group is led by a staff advisor. Additional information was shared as a part of, again, John Jagman's PACE Committee report on June 6th regarding advancing equity with student engagement and voice. At this time, Donovan Johnson, Planning Assistant in the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement, BLMA, will provide you with an update of work and survey data that is advancing equity through student engagement and voice.
Thank you, Dr. Ellis. Good evening, Chair Seamson, and members of the committee. My name is Donovan Johnson with the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement. Just a couple updates on things that we have done this school year. So first, we have our BLMA Buddies program. We are actually currently in 16 schools now instead of 8. We have one in each of the school board directors' district, as well as we have added community schools to our list. So we are in 6 of the 8 community schools. We have our Manhood Development Academy, which is currently in 2 schools, but as of now, expanding into 6 schools during the 2023-2024 school year. We have our BLMA Mentoring, which we are in 12 high schools. These 12 high schools met with community mentors once a month through the academic school year, in addition to doing data chats with BLMA staff members throughout bi-weekly. My apologies. We also have our BLMA ambassadors. We took the top performing students out of our program in our 3 high schools, and we used those students as ambassadors to do service mentors, to help us facilitate workshops, and a host of other things. We also ended the school year with our mental health symposium. We had 12 high schools, over 200 students come down to Marquette and get mental health services from mental health professionals, as well as talk about their wants, needs, and anything else they may need in regards to mental health. I will now defer back to Dr. Ellis.
Thank you so much, Donovan. This year, students and staff had opportunities to share ways that they are advancing equity at the Equity Summit that was held on May 13th at North Division High School. Thank you to all who are engaged in fulfilling the intent and purpose of this resolution. A special thank you is extended to students who have and are sharing insights, wisdom, and ideas to ensure that as many students as possible throughout the district can have leadership experiences that will prepare them to be global citizens now and into the future at home, in school, in the community, at work, and wherever their life journey may take them as they engage in pursuing lifelong equity for all. Thank you for your attention, and we hope that this sampling of advancing equity in MPS has been helpful in seeing the collaborative ways equity work engaging students is growing and bearing sustainable fruit and allowing for student engagement in research and other critical learning, including how challenges, failures, shortcomings, as well as achievements are all stepping stones in the lifelong journey to equity and success inside and outside of the walls of the classroom. Equity, advancing equity in MPS, speaks to what makes us all MPS proud and always desiring more for our students, staff, and families to be able to contribute to a global society and humanity. Thank you again, and at this time, if you have any questions, we will be more than happy to respond to the questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for that report about this exciting and important work. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Would it be possible to have some students come and present? I would say, looking at your timeline, maybe even around November, just to give an idea of how things are going, maybe what their initial impressions of data collection are, their understanding of their journey, so forth, and what tweaks or changes they might make to the process.
Administration.
Director, Chair Simpson, members of the committee, yes, we can work with the advisors at the schools to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, that'd be fabulous. Any follow-up?
No, just a student-led presentation would be great.
Yes.
Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. Kind of related on that timeline. So it says in October, meet with student leadership groups and advisors to review the resolution. And I was wondering if board members would be able to be invited to some of those discussions. I don't know if that would be, if that would throw off the process or make it feel less authentic. Like, I'm not trying to insert myself into conversations, but it would be great. I've invited myself to many student groups because I think that's the best way to hear directly from students. But this just seems like a very interesting project and process, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall. But if I would defer to administration's I don't know, analysis or recommendation on if that would be cumbersome.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, we would love to have you come and participate in this process. Thank you so much for that suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we look forward to those invitations. That'll be wonderful. Director Gokul-Gandhi.
Yeah, and I was at the community schools gathering where students were talking about gender inclusion and identity, and it was really to hear sixth graders talk about gender identity and the varying sort of understanding of where people come from and how they formulate their understanding of the world and sort of their positioning is so fascinating. And so I would really love to even just hear, this is real applicable sort of governance and policy. And even as they take their civics course, this is the part of like how a bill becomes a law kind of. And so just to hear them hear them present, have them talk to us, have us ask them questions, I think would be really like just a unique experience.
Absolutely. Administration?
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, we concur.
Thank you. Director Leonard?
Just some comments. First of all, the student questions are really sort of leading me when I'm listening sessions. I'm looking at their questions and thinking, well, they're the ones that need to run this because they did an excellent job. I'm just very, very proud of them. And I mean, I've had a chance to work with a lot of student groups, obviously, having been a teacher also, but I looked at last year's notes compared to this year's, and kudos to your department and what you're doing. There is such clarity. It's so clear to me where you're going with this, and how it could, and it has such a potential to directly affect our district. I wish other districts could see what's happening with equity and realize just the potential of what it does for our students and for our community and our whole educational system in our district. So anyway, thank you very much. You deserve a lot of credit for this. Thank you. And the students. Please let them know.
Absolutely. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Yep, Director O'Halloran.
Just a note on how we would get those. So would you be able to provide the dates of the meetings to Office of Board Governance, and then Office of Board Governance would be able to, like, I don't want to invite myself to other people's high schools, so, I would prefer to try to meet with Bayview and Reagan, or, I just thinking through the process of how that works, so.
And Dr. Mann, that seemed like a doable thing to take on?
Madam Chair, members of the committee will work with the administration to get the dates and share those with board members.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you again for that report and information, and always good to hear. With that, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is a report with possible action regarding the Black Lives Matter the week at school. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, this evening we have our end-of-the-year report regarding Black Lives Matter. I have with me the co-chairs, Ms. Felice Bill, Instructional Leadership Director, and Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent, to report out on this item. Following their presentation, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Dr. Dinkins, Ms. Bill.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the committee. My name is Felice Bill, Instructional Leadership Director of the Central Region, Office of School Administration. Today, I will provide a quarterly update on the actions and initiatives of the Black Lives Matter Committee. The work of the core committees continues to align to improving district and school culture, developing our staff, strengthening communication and collaboration, and increasing academic achievement and accountability. This school year, we focused on academic achievement and accountability through our monthly projects. We focused on district and school culture by allowing student voice to be heard and viewed through their projects. We developed our staff by providing teacher resources to increase awareness and knowledge related to topics. And lastly, we strengthened communication and collaboration by including community stakeholders. During the 22-23 school year, our goal was to strengthen 3 areas of engagement. These areas include making more community connections, adding additional partnerships, and developing the alignment to district initiatives. This school year, we were able to partner with America's Black Holocaust Museum and G's Clippers, as well as additional community stakeholders. Our focus this school year was to provide schools with information to extend learning through the monthly activities, as well as learning opportunities in the community. Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. I am Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent for the East Region. During the months of April, May, and June, the Curriculum Committee has continued to provide information and yearly initiatives during the AP and SST Institutes. During the month of May, Black Lives Matter at School Year Purpose supported the creation of Education for Liberation Day that was shared with all schools. The committee also assisted in the promotion of Juneteenth Day by sharing resources highlighting the emancipation of 4 million enslaved people in the United States. The Week of Action Committee has worked diligently to ensure monthly activities were created and aligned to teacher and student resources, as well as providing extended learning genres and activities. During the month of May, the Week of Action Committee collaborated with the core leadership team, assisting in identifying this year's challenges, successes, and is currently supporting the creation of the 2023-24 timeline of events, initiatives, and any changes that we see fit. The Monthly Activities Committee continued to develop engaging and thought-provoking activities and resources for teachers to utilize in the classroom that connect with the principles of Black Lives Matter. During the month of March, loving engagement was the principal focus. This guiding principle focused on embodying and practicing justice, liberation, and peace in our engagement with one another as well. During the month of April, schools were provided with the April and May monthly activities. The principal focus for April was Black writers and artists across the generations, and May's principal focus was liberation, value collective uplift of Black families. During the month of May, we worked to ensure students received an opportunity to engage with Victory Over Violence and to participate in dialogue with others regarding violence prevention and positive measures to decrease violence in schools, their homes, and within the community and city. This was done in conjunction with the Student Leadership Summit.
The Black Lives Matter Committee is currently developing next steps for the 2023-24 Plan of Action. A few of the changes that will help to enhance this initiative are as follows. We would like to restructure the current committee outline and expectations to ensure greater productivity, goals to obtain additional partnerships to support the extended learning opportunities within the city of Milwaukee. We would also like to increase student participation within the core committees, and we will revamp the components of the Week of Action, which will provide opportunities for staff, students, and community stakeholders to engage in during the school day. And this concludes our presentation. We can answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you very much for that update. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Leonard.
You got my attention on revamping the, I'm sorry, I want to say this the right way. Revamping the Week of Action, do you have any precursory details on what you were thinking of doing?
Chair
Preview
Simpson.
administration.
Chair Simpson and members of the board, what we are doing at this current time is we are planning this course of action for next year. So we're still in the process of that planning, but all stakeholders are involved in that.
Any follow-up, Director Leonard?
No, that's all right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Is there any further discussion? All right, thank you. Yeah, we all look forward to seeing what's going to happen next year. Very exciting. Thank you very much for that update. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 13, which is a report. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Item number 12, which is a report with possible action regarding the bilingual education and the District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee, DMAC. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Could administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, we are pleased to share our end-of-the-year report of the 2022-23 Bilingual Education and District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Council, also known as DMAC. This evening, I have the team with me to present on this item. Following their presentation, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. At this time, I'd like to turn you over to Mr. Gavan, the Regional Superintendent of the Southwest Region, and Ms. Trejo, the Curriculum Specialist, to lead the presentation. Mr. Gavan.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Chair Simpson, Vice Chair Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, I'm Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent of the Southwest Region. Tonight we will give our update on the work done by the BME, Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education, and DMAC, District Multicultural Multilingual Advisory Committee. With me today is Rocio Trejo, Multicultural Education, Bilingual Curriculum Specialist. Today we'll be happy to share some of the work done, our successes, and work moving forward. As always, our work is aligned to the 5 priorities. The Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education and DMAC support all 5 of the priority successes, with a particular focus on increasing academic achievement, accountability, improving district and school culture, developing our staff, and strengthening communication and collaboration. Excuse me. This slide is a demographic slide, which represents the breakdown of the 21 schools that are the bilingual schools. So again, as you see there, approximately 5,319 of those 13,298 students are ELLs. And again, just to clarify, that 13,298 students is a representation of all the students in those bilingual schools. And again, just as a reminder, there are bilingual classrooms and monolingual classrooms, so that's why that number doesn't always match. This slide shows the mission and vision of the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education, which is in line with the district's overall vision and mission. The mission is to provide equitable access to quality multilingual and multicultural programming in Milwaukee Public Schools so that MPS students graduate with strong cultural and linguistic identities, leveraging these assets to navigate college, career, and life as global citizens in an inclusive society. Tonight's presentation will touch on bilingual programming, the seal of biliteracy, professional development, parent engagement, and a report from DMAC. Dr. Tatiana Joseph, the lead for DMAC, could not be here tonight as she's teaching class, so I will give that update in her place. And now I'll turn it over to Rocio.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Rocio Trejo, Bilingual Curriculum Specialist. I will begin with some background information on bilingual programming. In MPS, bilingual dual language education means students are taught literacy and academic content in English and Spanish. Under the umbrella of bilingual dual language, we have one-way, also known as a developmental bilingual program, and two-way programming. One-way programs predominantly serve one language group. In MPS, one-way programs primarily serve English learners with a Spanish-speaking background. Two-way programs serve at least two language groups. Generally, these groups are native English speakers and ELs with a Spanish-speaking background. All bilingual program schools are supported with their implementation of Teaching for Biliteracy, a pedagogical approach for teaching and learning in two languages. This spring, we hosted a Saturday PD series on Oracy and the Bridge, which are two components of Teaching for Biliteracy. These sessions targeted strategies teachers can use in their classrooms for instruction. 34 pre-K through high school teachers from a variety of bilingual dual language schools participated. Over this school year, support plans were developed in collaboration with schools at 13 sites. These support plans range from 3 to 6 professional development sessions, plus a day of classroom observations. Attendees are mostly bilingual and ESL teachers, as well as the SST, ranging from 1 to 25 participants. 3 schools with bilingual programming were provided the specific support requested for bilingual teachers. Sessions here range from 1 to 8, with 1 to 12 participants. The professional development provided by the team also builds capacity among teachers. One example is that this school year, teacher teams from La Escuela View presented at the Wisconsin Association for Bilingual Education Conference around co-teaching. The professional development and support we offer will continue to be provided next school year. Our team also collaborates with the Montessori coordinator and Riley staff to create materials for biliteracy units to promote language development. This year, 17 sessions with about 9 participants were offered for Riley. For the 23-24 school year, we will continue this curricular development for primary and incorporate the use of sentence prompts for lower elementary. Additionally, it is important that bilingual program students have access to texts in both languages. Therefore, bilingual program classrooms are receiving books in Spanish to augment classroom libraries. These grade-appropriate titles will increase the amount and variety of rich Spanish and/or bilingual texts to which students will be exposed. Teachers can use these books as independent reading for students or as a mentor text for reading or writing development. In the area of English language development, we determined a process for including English language development into biliteracy units. With this process in hand, teams expanded on 6th through 8th grade literacy units by adding an English language development component. Grades 3rd through 5th will be expanded on next school year. This means that teachers will have grade level examples around the use of English language development to support high levels of literacy and content learning. The next step is to develop communication around the enhanced units and professional development opportunities. Through these opportunities, we will explain how to use the units to explain lessons, to plan lessons that include both content and language learning. We also provided professional development and coaching to 16 schools that requested information and strategies for educating English learners. The number of sessions ranged from 1 to 4. Some sessions were dedicated to the whole staff, while others focused on ESL teachers and/or support staff. Professional development topics included ideas to develop lessons for English learners, plan family engagement activities, as well as finding and using data in Infinite Campus. The next step is to analyze the outcomes of the professional development and coaching using Check for Understanding data as well as qualitative teacher feedback. Based on this analysis, we will determine the focus for the 23-24 school year and develop subsequent PD sessions. These actions will lead to a monitoring system from which we can more effectively gauge how professional development and coaching impacts teacher practice. Additionally, the district was again awarded 2 grants from the State Refugee Office. These are the Refugee School Impact Grant and Refugee Youth Mentoring Grant. Dollars beyond the initial award amount were given to MPS to provide a greater scope of services to new arrivals from Southeast Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Services include tutoring in the areas of reading, mathematics, as well as social and emotional learning. The next step is to determine qualifying youth, upload data to the statewide database for record keeping and accountability purposes, train staff, and deliver services. In the area of immersion, collaboration took place among immersion schools to ensure that appropriate target language materials were adopted for handwriting and spelling, which will be presented to the board in July. Meetings with immersion principals took place on 4 different occasions to discuss target language allocation, before and after school programs, and promotion of immersion schools. For example, each school is working with communications to create postcards, which can then be distributed to families and the community. For next school year, creating a lesson plan template for immersion schools will help teachers plan engaging lessons to help students along their language proficiency pathway. For world language, 5 professional development sessions were offered this school year to engage world language teachers in collaborating while lesson planning with a template and integrating district-adopted resources. Next school year, the world language team will be collaborating with world language teachers to align the template with the new Wisconsin standards for world languages. Schools which have world language vacancies use proximity learning, a vendor through which world language instruction is provided. Once a fully licensed teacher is hired at these sites, these services are removed. As of now, there are over 2,700 students at 25 schools enrolled in world language classes. Live instruction is available in Spanish, French, and Japanese. Asynchronous instruction is available in Chinese, French, German, and Spanish through self-paced courses. Summer Academy live courses are in American Sign Language for Montessori, Chinese Mandarin for elementary summer camp. Spanish and French are available for high school credit recovery. Additionally, there are over 5,600 students utilizing Mango as a resource to enhance their language learning. 3 drop-in sessions and 1 professional development session for parent coordinators were offered this year. 3 parent sessions were offered ranging from 10 to 30 participants, and this support is also available by request. Speakable is another application world language teachers can use. This application was acquired in February of 2023 to help teachers with self-grading speaking assignments. 2 professional development sessions have been offered. There are over 2,100 students utilizing the app and receiving instant feedback on their speech. The seal of biliteracy is an award given by the district to students upon high school graduation. It is earned by studying and attaining proficiency in 2 or more languages alongside demonstrations of high levels of social cultural competency. This spring, 50 students from different high schools presented their social cultural projects in the first MPS Multicultural Exposition Fair at South Division High School. Through a social cultural project, students had the opportunity to deepen and apply their knowledge of a culture to meet one of the criteria for students to obtain the seal of biliteracy. As you can see, in 21-22, 64 students graduated with the seal of biliteracy, and the goal for this year was to graduate 100. However, we are happy to announce that 137 students graduated with the seal by literacy, and the goal for next year is to graduate 180 students with this honor.
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, through the immigrant grant awarded, Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent, through the immigrant grant awarded by the Department of Public Instruction, the Department of Bilingual Multicultural Education provided 4 sessions to parents of refugee and immigrant students. 2 sessions were held at Grant School, 1 session at Hamilton High School, and an upcoming session at Garland. In these sessions, parents received and will receive resources for their students, including backpacks, notebooks, as well as an immigrant guide booklet. This booklet and the presentation provided recently arrived parents with cultural and educational information of the United States. An overview of the key takeaways from these sessions was presented to all parent coordinators at a monthly institute in the spring. The key takeaways were using different methods to contact refugee and immigrant families, how to be culturally inviting to the families, networking with community organizations to provide immigration information pertinent to specific groups related to status needed and forms to complete. Also, the bilingual department offered professional development for parents through DMAC, which we'll get into a little bit more in detail in the next slide. And at school sites, school attended kindergarten fair, and at that kindergarten fair, obviously they had the information regarding bilingual education and the different types of programs offered at those particular schools. Also, as was mentioned earlier by Rocio, there will be postcards. All of our bilingual schools will be out at community events such as Fiesta Mexicana, Puerto Rican Fest, and other festivals throughout the city to promote bilingual education and to hopefully enroll thousands and thousands of students. Again, as I mentioned, Dr. Joseph couldn't be here, but from January through May, there were monthly meetings held for DMAC. At those meetings, some of the topics covered were parent advocacy. Again, the purpose of this session was to strengthen parents' understandings of how to advocate for quality public education. It was very back and forth in terms of there was a lot of participation, and parents asked a lot of wonderful questions about how to advocate for their students. And part of that was through earlier presentations at the beginning of the year when the Department of BME presented a really much more in-depth presentation about what the programs are, and Rocio touched on that a little bit at the beginning. Also, language opportunities beyond the classroom. The purpose of this session was to introduce parents to the numerous opportunities available to MPS students who are speaking and learning multiple languages. So we had, again, other MPS people from outside that came in, and then we spoke about opportunities that bilingual education provides to our students, not only while in school, but once they leave school, scholarship opportunities, opportunities in the world outside of school, and opportunities to learn about others and accept others more. There were 2 sessions held about the budget. One was given by Chief Kreitzman, and that was more of an overview of the budget and the impacts of some of the things that are done at the state and federal level. And then I provided one more based upon the school budgets and how parents can, again, advocate and knowing what is happening at their schools when decisions have to be made, sometimes difficult decisions. And then finally, there was another meeting where board members that were running and board members that are now elected were there to kind of present and be introduced to the families that are part of DMAC. And then finally, at our last meeting, we talked about Summer Academy, and Rocio touched on those opportunities that are available during the summer, including language opportunities across the grade spans. And there is a plan for one more meeting. We're still trying to work out the details and have maybe Chris Steele come on and talk about some of the things happening at the state level in regards to budget and services for our English language learners. That does conclude our presentation, and we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Simpson. I have a couple questions. One, I think during the presentation, we said that some schools have asynchronous, self-paced, and there were a variety of languages that were covered. And then we have in-person, I think it was Spanish, French, and Japanese. Do all schools at the high school level have in-person instruction in world languages offered at this point?
Administration.
Sorry.
She's looking through her notes.
Yeah, no, totally understand.
Chair Simpson, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Rocio Trejo, bilingual curriculum specialist. At the moment, there's live instruction through proximity learning. There's also in-person instruction through a physical world language teacher that's in the building at various high schools. I do not have the specific numbers. It depends because positions are fluid. So as soon as we hire a teacher, a world language teacher that can fill that vacancy, then proximity learning is removed. So that fluctuates depending on when those positions are filled.
Follow-up, Director O'Halloran.
Yeah, thank you. If we, recognizing that the situation may be fluid, would it be possible to just get a snapshot like of the current situation provided to the board before the full board meeting? And recognizing, so this came up in a very random conversation at one of my high schools. I was speaking with a Spanish teacher and I was like, hey, you know, I had Spanish starting in 7th and 8th grade. So when I started freshman year, I was in Spanish 2. What is, you know, what would be the greatest impediment or hurdle that we would need to overcome in order to start expanding the opportunities down? And the teacher I was speaking with said, you know, frankly, we need more teachers. So I was wondering, you know, how we're, you know, leveraging our great diversity, which is our strength, and all of our students that are graduating with the seal of biliteracy. How are we encouraging them to pursue education, supporting that? I think South might have a NAF Academy track, but it would be great to encourage or see a way that we're growing our own from the student population in order to come back and serve our students. So is that currently an initiative that we're working on?
Administration.
Director O'Halloran, Chair Simpson, Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent. Yes, you mentioned South Division. South Division is working very diligently to recruit high school teachers to high school students to become teachers. There are also students at Reagan that are participating in similar programs. We have personally had conversations with Mr. Trejo, President, listen to me, Principal at South Division, about establishing even some earlier opportunities. For example, at Forest Home and Allen Field, that are two schools that are very close to South Division, having students go and work with bilingual teachers or teachers in a monolingual classroom as well to get a better understanding of what it means under the supervision and guidance of a teacher who's been doing it, right? And hopefully create that joy of teaching in those students, and so they can get a look at the other side, right? Often our students see only from the teacher. They don't see from the teacher's side looking at the student. So that's something that we worked on, and we started those conversations pre-pandemic, and now that we're kind of moving out of that, we're going to move forward with establishing some of those relationships at South Division and then move forward from there. Also, in terms of students that go into world language, obviously when there are immersion programs, when they go to Milwaukee School of Languages, those are our natural pipelines, as well as our students that are in our bilingual schools or ESL programs. When they get to high school, most of them take advantages of taking those as courses and grow those skills.
Follow-up, Director O'Halloran.
One last question. So if we have asynchronous, self-paced courses that are available, I'm assuming those are directed towards like high school level. Is there, now I I can't count all the minutes, right? We have certain minutes, and we have to fulfill certain requirements, but would there be a way to push some of those self-paced courses down to younger levels? My concern is when you hit ninth grade and you're starting world language then, you're kind of missing a window of opportunity. The younger that they're exposed to it, the easier the absorption is. So I was, is there a way that we can push it down to some of the younger grades, make those opportunities available? Yeah.
Administration.
Director O'Halloran, Chair Simpson, Eduardo Galvan. And those are actually conversations that we have had during DMAC. And some of the tools that Ms. Trejo mentioned, such as Mango languages, were some opportunities that we are exploring. We've had some conversations with some principals within the Southwest region about providing those opportunities through Mango languages as a way to introduce language to some of our students in our monolingual classrooms, right? So that they, to your point, can develop that interest in language. Again, Mango languages is a program that can also be used at home. So it's something that, again, isn't a formalized way of doing it, but it's something that we've been exploring as a way to at least bring up that subject of the importance, tie it to the benefits, the seal of biliteracy, and to your point, get that exposure at a younger grade level. So those are things that we'll continue to explore.
Director O'Halloran.
I promise this will just be if you can promote Mango language with families in, we get a weekly newsletter at Cooper, Burdick, they text us. We get a lot of communication, but I only know about Mango because I've seen Dr. Joseph talking about it outside of kind of formal MPS communications. So I would be just very interested in supporting that. My kids they started at Fratney. And so if I am super invested in this and I barely hear about it, there may be other people like me who would love to support their kids at home with this program.
And just to piggyback on that, I think that, so with our immersion programs, I know that some of our greatest assets are our current students, because I know at our immersion schools, many of those teachers are our former students who were enrolled there. So I think that's a great pathway as well to continue pursuing. So thank you for bringing that up. No, you're great. Any other comments by members of the board? Director Leonard.
Just one question on just a projection on how many refugee youth we're going to be picking up in the course of the next year.
Administration.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm coming on to make sure that they are able to get the numbers, and now I see Ms. Trejo is ready. Go ahead.
Chair Simpson, members of the committee, Rocio Trejo, Bilingual Curriculum Specialist. For this year, Lao Compliance Center has enrolled 1,689 ELs representing 35 languages. And we continue to enroll. We could certainly try to gather a projected number. Again, that is fluid depending on circumstances in different countries. However, the top 3 languages are Spanish, which had 1,042, Rohingya with 286 students, and Burmese with 65 students.
Follow-up, Director Leonard?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any members of the public who wish to make comments?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All right. Thank you so much for that update. And Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 13, which is a report with possible action regarding the implementation of the personal finance course. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, No action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, the financial literacy team is here with me to update us on the financial literacy course, including a review of the 2022-23 school year. Following the item, this presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I have with me, part of the team is Marty Diaz, who is a district teacher mentor, joined by Jeff Lasky, who's the principal of Riverside University High School as well. Look like Eric Radomski is here with us as well. So, Marty, take it away.
Good evening, Chair Simpson, members of the committee. My name is Marty Diaz. I'm a financial literacy teacher mentor, and I'm here to present the financial literacy report. Of our 5 district priorities, our work of implementing the personal finance course supports 2 priorities: the development of staff and increasing academic achievement and accountability. This table shows a timeline of the personal finance course implementation over the years. During the 22-23 school year, we had 1,817 students take the personal finance course. For the 23-24 school year, every high school and MPS will offer the personal finance course to students. In preparation for the 23-24 school year, with the support of our great partners, we are currently providing valuable hours of professional development this summer. Every year, personal finance teachers take at least 30 hours of professional development to prepare to teach the course. This includes taking certification courses that specialize in topics like investment, banking, credit, behavioral economics, consumer skills, taxes, and paying for college. We also offer professional development after school during the fall and spring semester, as well on the weekends. Personal finance teachers are also encouraged to attend and participate with professional conferences and monthly PLC meetings. This year we hosted some exciting financial literacy events geared towards increasing interest and engagement in the personal finance course. The picture on the right is of a personal finance workshop held for families at Riverside High School on one evening in April during Financial Literacy Month. We had 80 families register to attend this event and learn more about building credit and purchasing homes. Personal finance students from 20 MPS high schools competed in the Finance and Investment Challenge Bowl hosted at Cardinal Stritch. Riverside High School and King IB High School went to compete at the state competition in Madison in May. Both teams did very well. During Financial Literacy Month, we also hosted Reality Check Day at UWM. We had family financial literacy workshops, virtual FinLit Fridays for middle school students, and brought an amazing special guest author and YouTuber to read an excerpt from her book, Mind Your Money. Students really enjoyed the guest speaker, and we will focus on getting more guest speakers to schools in the 23-24 school year. With feedback from students, staff, and families, we will continue to work to improve the personal finance course. We are continuously working to expand and improve our partnerships to ensure that students have access to a comprehensive personal finance education that includes many hands-on opportunities to learn both inside and outside of the classroom. We will continue to offer professional development opportunities to teachers and interested staff. We'll work with parent coordinators and school staff to provide opportunities for families to participate in monthly financial literacy workshops at individual schools around the district. Thank you for prioritizing financial education. This concludes the portion of my report, and I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Lasky, principal of Riverside High School, to share some information about the personal finance course.
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Jeff Lasky, principal of Riverside University High School. Riverside High School began offering personal finance during the 21-22 school year. In the 21-22 school year, we had 133 students pass the course, and in the 22-23 school year, we had 137 students receive credit. For the 23-24 school year, we will be adding an additional 2 sections of personal finance. Anecdotally, students regularly report that they enjoy taking the course due to its real-world applications. One of our graduating seniors described their experience as follows. The personal finance course is paramount for students to know how to operate and maintain their money. The personal finance course expanded my knowledge on investment types and the investments one should make with their employer. The content in the curriculum starts with historical and real-life events which affected our economy and the way Americans finance money. This is valuable knowledge to know when working with and financing money. In addition to the course, a team of RUHS personal finance students also participated in the Finance Investment Challenge Bowl for the last 2 years. This year, one of the Riverside teams beat out tough competition to get first place in the local FICB in Milwaukee, so they were invited to the state competition. At the state competition, they performed well but got eliminated after the second round. Several members from the team did win individual prizes at the state competition. At RUHS, we always look for ways to bring the course content to life. As additional enrichment to the curriculum this year, we had author of a YouTube contributor, Yaneli Espinel, come and speak with our students and provide them with signed copies of her book. During her presentation, she shared her experience of learning what good finance means and how students can avoid some of the pitfalls that young adults often fall into when they're starting down the road to long-term financial stability. Fitting personal finance into our programming required some strategic thinking. At RUHS, we have chosen to integrate personal finance into our math department, as there are fewer non-advanced electives within this department. Also, 3 years are required rather than 4, as with English, for example, allowing us to create a senior level course. We found that seniors engage deeply with the material as they are about to set out on their own and tackle finances in their personal lives for the first time. I'm extremely excited that RUHS can offer this course to our students and look forward to continuing to provide students with the opportunity to engage with this extremely relevant and meaningful curriculum.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lasky. This concludes my report. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for that update. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Madam Secretary, do any members of the public wish to make comments?
I have no request for public testimony on this item.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you very much. Madam Chair, what is the next item on our agenda?
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Sorry, Madam Secretary. Yeah, I'd just like to thank everybody and the different departments. This agenda was a great example of showcasing the opportunities and work done here at MPS that we can be so very proud of. There being no further business before this committee, the meeting is adjourned.